Tonight, Doug Ford speaking out about the crisis in Ontario hospitals for the first time as more ICUs hit full capacity.
There's a logjam, but 90% of the patients are getting taken care of when they're going in the hospital.
The Premier going on the defensive despite the situation getting worse by the day due to staffing shortages. Plus,
it was just a little shocking, especially because he was here ticketing cyclists all day.
A cyclist is speaking out after he was struck by a police cruiser in High Park, who he says was there to ensure cyclists were following the rules. And
I struggle to think of another lawyer in this country who contributed more than him.
He was a celebrated civil rights lawyer who took on some of our country's biggest cases, looking back at the legacy of Clayton Ruby, who has passed away at the age of 80. Good evening, I'm Kelda Yoon. Hospital departments across the province have been forced to shut their doors due to lack of staff. Healthcare workers say patients aren't getting the care they need, and pressure has been mounting for the province to do something about it. Well, today, for the first time in weeks, the Premier addressed those issues. Ali Chiasson has more.
Make no mistake about it, there's a logjam, but 90% of the patients are getting taken care of when they're going in the hospital. Can we do better? 100%. I'm a strong believer in continuous improvement, investment.
Also, to make no mistake, continuous does not mean new. Premier Doug Ford today spoke for the first time in weeks about the healthcare staffing issue, but didn't announce any new initiatives to fix it.
We've hired over 10,500 new healthcare workers. We've added 3,100 beds.
And yet, several hospitals have had to reduce their delivery of care, the latest of which, Toronto General Hospital, where the intensive care units are at capacity. The CEO of the University Health Network says frontline healthcare workers and patients deserve better.
We hear clinicians and those who support them over and over saying, I'm stressed, the system is at a breaking point, I'm at a breaking point. It's hard to see the kind of light at the end of the tunnel for this point. So I think we're looking for hope to build resiliency and, of course, the confidence both of patients and providers that we have some solutions for the future.
We know that the care is not even remotely what it should be.
A study conducted by the Registered Practical Nurses Association of Ontario found nearly 7 in 10 nurses say they are unable to provide adequate patient care because of a lack of time and resources, and nearly 1 in 2 said they're considering leaving the profession for good.
Bringing new nurses in is great. We have to do that. Bringing foreign or internationally educated nurses in is a really great thing that that we all encourage them to do. But bringing new nurses in will never be of assistance if we don't keep the ones we already have.
While the Nurses Association says the province isn't taking care of them in a lot of ways, physicians say the numbers the Premier quoted,
9 out of 10 high urgency patients are finishing their emergency visit within targeted times.
Suggests his finger isn't on the pulse.
In our emergency rooms in the GTA, we've been hearing from all of our colleagues, it is routine to be waiting between an hour and 2 hours for patients to actually get from registration to triage. So during that period of time, the clock is not on their visit, and yet that is a significant amount of time if somebody's truly unwell.
Ali Chiasson, CBC News, Toronto.
An early morning fire in Toronto's East End claimed the life of a man. Neighbors say he's lived in the home for decades, but kept to himself. Dale Manukduk has the latest.
This was the scene Sean Humphreys walked out of his Riverdale Avenue home to just before 1 a.m. Fire crews battling a blaze 2 doors down at his neighbor's semi-detached home.
So we came out and see a whole bunch of people out front and the trucks and everything, and came out and there was smoke coming out of the front of the house there.
Even the smell from the fire was enough to wake people up from down the street.
Something like burning plastic or tires or something like that, and at first I was concerned it was our house, so I got up and did a quick inspection.
When crews arrived, they eventually located a man on the second floor. He was pronounced dead on scene. Now, fire crews had to force their entry into the residence. You'll see that there is a lot of contents that was in the house, including old computers. You see some old yard equipment and a box TV monitor. There's also some CDs. Everything that's here on the lawn wasn't there previously, but neighbors say that what's under the tarp on the porch was there before.
You know, from the evidence of stuff that's on the front lawn, it's pretty evident that there's a lot of hoarding going on.
Mountains of items can be seen stacked on the porch. Even more things were removed so crews could navigate the home. Inside is charred. The Ontario Fire Marshal is now in charge of the investigation. It's unclear how or where the fire started.
Quite often it's not obvious, and it takes a little bit of time for us to do our job in terms of essentially excavating the contents.
The fire marshal says there's no timeline for the investigation, but that it can take days or even over a week. Dale Manukduk, CBC News, Toronto.
A man suffered life-threatening injuries after a two-vehicle crash in Brampton today. It happened at Beauvert Drive and Sunny Meadow Boulevard just before 1:30. A woman was also injured in the crash. Toronto police say they are investigating after a man on a bicycle was hit by a police cruiser in High Park yesterday. The cyclist speaking out tonight about the incident, which has some advocates questioning why police are patrolling the area in the first place. Meg Roberts reports.
Well, it was right here at this intersection that Matt Moore says he was hit by a police officer while cycling. He said he stopped at this stop sign and was proceeding across the intersection when a police officer turned right directly into his bike.
It was just a little shocking, especially because he was here ticketing cyclists all day, that, you know, he can't follow the rules himself.
Toronto police have been seen in the area more frequently lately, ticketing cyclists who are speeding or don't stop at stop signs.
The cyclists here want to come here for a workout, and it's the safest place in the city to ride. And it's a little ironic that the only damage that was done yesterday in the park is by a police officer who is supposed to, you know, be here to help improve situation.
Conflict between pedestrians and cyclists have been a long-standing issue at High Park. Community members have complained about cyclists going too fast and blowing through stop signs like this one. One Toronto lawyer says while they are legitimate concerns, having police in the park almost every night to patrol cyclists is a waste of resources.
Dedicating city resources to a problem that we know does not cause harm, even in the, 1 in 10,000th the same as what happens on the streets around the park, is a bit beguiling to cyclists.
He thinks resources would be better used patrolling city streets, considering motor collisions are far more likely to be deadly.
It shows the mayor's office and perhaps Toronto police are either out of touch or willfully blind to what's happening on the streets of Toronto. You could go to any intersection in this city and see motor vehicles breaking the law.
It's unclear if the officer will be reprimanded or if Toronto police will pay for damages done to Moore's bicycle. The only thing Toronto police have told CBC News today is that the incident did in fact take place here last night. It's calling it a minor collision, and police say the investigation is continuing. Meg Roberts, CBC News, Toronto.
Let's go to Dahlia Ashry now with a first look at the forecast. And Dahlia, definitely a hot and humid one out there today.
That's right, Kelda. Just another day of humidity, and that's what the warning was for today. Just stay hydrated, and there is a chance of a thunderstorm this evening, and things might cool down just a bit with some rain. Daytime highs in Toronto today were 30 degrees. Because of that humid X, it even felt much higher. And Windsor, 33 degrees. That's the hot spot in the region. Now, there is watches and warnings overnight tonight for the southwestern region. As for the GTA Thursday, as we head into tomorrow, we will see, as you commute to work, cloud coverage and the chance of precipitation throughout the day. 8 o'clock on Thursday as we head into Friday, kicking off that weekend, mostly cloud coverage and some scattered showers throughout Friday. Tonight, temperatures will drop to 21 degrees. It's going to be a windy one this evening, 20 to 40 kilometers an hour of wind. And tomorrow afternoon, it will feel like 37 degrees, a high of 29 with that humid X. Stay hydrated. Keep your umbrella on you because you're going to need it.
Thanks so much, Dahlia. Flying in and out of Pearson has been a headache for many travelers, with long lines at check-ins and security. To help with things, the airport introducing new technology today that they say should reduce wait times for incoming travelers. Greg Ross has those details.
These machines can process anyone that is over the age of 16. International passengers flying into Pearson will now find that they have more options when it comes to processing travel documents.
A traveler will approach the gate, scan their travel document, and have their picture taken to confirm their identity, at which point they'll be able to answer all mandatory customs and immigration questions.
Using electronic kiosks to process passengers is actually not new to Pearson. They've had similar machines for years, but they say this is new technology and it's faster.
I would say that you can see on the technology it's going to cut it 30 to 40% of time if you've done your advanced declaration, and it should speed up you through the process overall as well.
The hope is that this will reduce the amount of time that passengers are forced to wait on the tarmac after landing, as well as lineups for customs. But that's only part of the problem. What about people flying out of Pearson, who have also faced long lines at check-in and numerous flight delays?
It's not a problem that you can solve in a short period of time.
Leslie Diaz is the director of airlines for Unifor, a union that represents hundreds of airport workers. She says there are still major staffing shortages at Pearson, and she says that problem isn't getting fixed anytime soon.
Frankly, it's a sector that hasn't been particularly well paid for a significant period of time, and they're not having a great deal of success attracting workers, particularly to the lower paid types of work that exist.
According to the flight tracking service FlightAware, as of July 24th, Pearson Airport still ranked first out of the busiest 100 airports in the world when it comes to flight delays, with 57% of Pearson flights experiencing delays.
We've continued to work with our partners to make sure that all of the systems are running to the best of their possibility, that we're bringing in new technology, and that the officers, I think, is here to be able to support those passenger volumes.
Even with everything that's being done to fix the problem, some are convinced it isn't enough.
August is going to be a really busy month, without a doubt.
Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
A giant of the legal world has passed away. Clayton Ruby was a Toronto activist and civil rights lawyer, a champion of the underdog who worked on some of the most definitive cases in Canadian history, from the exoneration of Guy Paul Morin to legal fights over abortion and the rights of LGBTQ people. Far Morelli has more on his incredible life and legacy.
You don't just walk in the middle of the night with these search warrants rounding up people.
It was February 5th, 1981, when Toronto police raided 4 city bathhouses and arrested more than 250 gay men. It was then lawyer and activist Clayton Ruby who spoke out against the raids.
The Federal Court of Canada has ordered the armed forces to cease discrimination against gays and lesbians.
11 years later, he took on the feds and won, defending Michelle Douglas, who was dismissed from the Canadian Armed Forces for her sexual orientation.
As a legal giant, I struggle to think of another lawyer in this country who contributed more than him over the course of a more than half-century career.
Brian Schiller worked with Ruby for nearly 30 years and was one of his closest friends.
It's been quite a journey for me, watching a legend do such amazing things for so many years.
One of Ruby's legendary cases involves the landmark-assisted suicide of Sue Rodriguez. In 1994, he represented former NDP MP Sven Robinson, who was at Rodriguez's medically assisted death, which was unlawful at the time. Robinson wasn't charged.
It really inspired a generation of lawyers, and especially myself and among others.
Gerald Chan says Ruby was a colleague, a mentor, and a father figure.
He was fearless and relentless in fighting it and in fighting for those marginalized groups. Whether it was people who were wrongfully accused of crimes in the criminal justice system, whether it was gays and lesbians who were being discriminated against by the military, Indigenous persons in the criminal justice system, a woman's right to choose.
One of Ruby's most high-profile cases, the wrongful conviction of Guy Paul Morin, accused of the rape and killing of 9-year-old Christine Jessup. He was later exonerated.
There is no reason to suspect that this kid murdered her as opposed to anybody else in the universe.
Schiller says more than anything, he'll remember Ruby's empathy toward not just his clients, but to people.
It was about ensuring that justice was done and that we worked towards a greater equality in people, and Clay believed in that so strongly.
Clayton Ruby leaves behind a wife, 2 daughters, and 2 grandchildren. He was 80 years old. Farah Morali, CBC News, Toronto.
Welcome back. Good news for country music fans and tennis buffs. Today, the federal government announced a big investment in 2 major events in Ontario.
The Government of Canada, through FedDev Ontario, is investing over $12.3 million to support the return of both Tennis Canada's National Bank Open and Boots and Hearts Music Festival here in Southern Ontario.
The minister says these events are a major contributor to the Canadian economy. Representatives from Tennis Canada says the funding will go towards a gender equity in sports conference featuring tennis legend Billie Jean King and towards upgrading the venue. Both Boots and Hearts Music Festival and the National Bank Open kick off later this week. After years of construction and delays, an East End community is looking forward to the opening of a new YMCA. The Steve and Sally Stavro Family YMCA is located on Kingston Road at Balsam Avenue, the former location of the East City YMCA, which served the community for decades. Talia Ricci takes us on a tour.
So we're going to head on downstairs now.
Eager East Enders have been touring the new YMCA on Kingston Road.
Been getting a job here, or just trying as folder with a resume already. Yeah. Or even just trying as many things as I can in here, like classes and working out.
Well, we've been waiting for a long time for it to open, and when we found out that they were doing the tours, we jumped on it because we're so excited to have this in our community. We live just a few blocks away.
Construction on the Steve and Sally Stavro Family YMCA started back in 2015, and residents were frustrated when the initial 2020 opening date was delayed.
I would like to really appreciate the patience of this community. It has taken a long time. Obviously, the COVID really delayed us because there were a lot of equipment that needed to be installed.
General Manager Mehdi Zobiri says the nearly 64,000 square foot space boasts the latest gym equipment, a pool, fitness studios, and a universal change room.
We want to make sure that everybody can have access to a good workout. So, for example, this piece of equipment, very quickly, if you are using a wheelchair and you need to get on a piece of equipment easily, this is what you do.
Zobiri says accessibility was a big part of their plans.
The ramp, as you see, with a special wheelchair, that if somebody needs the assistance to get into the water, we can do that. Right in the corner, we even have a lift for people who have had severe injuries and they still need to get in the water. We can use that lift.
4 and 3. The Y says accessibility is considered in their classes too. Many of them are taught by volunteers.
We teach body fit chair, which is a complete class done in the chair. We have classes for all ages, stages, and abilities, and we're always really excited about that.
And with residences above the facility, the area's councillor says the building is a good use of land.
We know we need to intensify. We need more housing options for people. To bring it together with a community amenity like the YMCA is just a fantastic solution. It really represents the best of city building. And I know people are really excited for them to throw open the doors in the middle of August, get inside and see what the new space is like.
These doors officially open to the public on August 15th, but membership registration has already started, and the general manager says more than 2,000 people have signed up. Talia Ricci, CBC News, Toronto.
You are looking at a live shot of the Toronto skyline, partly cloudy this evening with a few scattered showers, currently 24 degrees in the city. Let's go back to Dahlia now with a look at your long-range forecast in Dahlia. Another hot and muggy day on tap for tomorrow with some rains in store as well.
That's right, Kelda. We experienced humidity today. We experienced it yesterday and tomorrow as well. And with that humidity and moisture in the air, that means a risk of a thunderstorm tonight, and that will lead into tomorrow as well. But there is a light at the end of the tunnel. We will eventually experience dry conditions. The daytime highs in Toronto, 30 degrees. The hotspot in the region, Windsor, London, 28, Hamilton, 30. So overall, pretty humid day across Ontario. Now, we will be experiencing some showers this evening and a risk of a thunderstorm, and that will carry into tomorrow morning as well. Throughout the day, you're going to see scattered showers 3 p.m. and Thursday night. Some scattered showers, but it will start to clear up in some fog as you commute to work on Friday. As we kick off the weekend, those clouds will start to dissipate and we have clearer skies. Overnight tonight, we will have the weather cool down just a bit, but winds will be gusting 20 to 40 kilometers an hour. Now, with that rain and a risk of a thunderstorm that will carry through until tomorrow, but there is that humid X that will be bringing up the temperature to 37 degrees. Now, there's also watches and warnings for southwestern Ontario for severe risk of thunderstorms and a tornado in certain regions like Timmins. Now, Toronto overnight, 21 degrees, Hamilton 20, Mississauga 21, but across the Golden Horseshoe, all we see here is risk of thunderstorm and scattered showers throughout the night. As for tomorrow, like we said, we will experience that rain and a risk of a thunderstorm, and that humid X is sticking around, so make sure you stay hydrated and keep an umbrella on you. Friday and Saturday, we get a bit of a break. Scattered showers on Saturday, but we get the dry conditions as we head into Sunday. Well, those showers will come back and carry through onto your commute for Monday morning, so make sure you keep that umbrella around because you're going to need it. And, well, stay hydrated as always. Kelda?
Good advice. Thanks so much, Dahlia. Finally tonight, the Nick Nurse Foundation hosted its first charity golf tournament today, raising funds for youth in marginalized communities. And a beloved former Raptor made a special appearance.
Special time for me, special event for Coach Nick. And, he asked me about this, I think, December, and I said yes. And, I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. So, his foundation is awesome and always giving back to the youth. So that's always important.
Former Raptors star Kyle Lowry wasn't the only special guest. Participants also got a chance to play with former NBA legend Dr. J. He spoke about meeting Raptors coach Nick Nurse and getting involved in the initiative.
Well, it wasn't around the game. It was around dinner one night in Atlanta. It led to an invitation by Nick to be invited to join his board, which I was happy to do a little over a year ago. And now this is the first event that I've been able to attend, and first of many, we hope.
Coach Nurse says net proceeds from the event will support programs and social justice initiatives aimed at empowering families in need. And that is our show for you tonight. Thank you so much for watching. Dwight Drummond has your next local newscast tomorrow at 6. I will see you back here tomorrow night at 11. Have a great night, everyone.